Hello my friends, it's Ranger Russ from the Meigs Nature Center, coming to you outside because it is a beautiful day here at Hammonasset Beach State Park. Want to let everybody know that the Meigs Nature Center is still currently closed, unfortunately. As soon as it does open though, we will have some surprises for you. We're working on doing a few little updates, adding some exhibits and some other special surprises. So when the building opens, you'll get a little bit of a different view of the Nature Center. So I'm really excited about that. Now, please get out and visit Connecticut state parks. There are state parks all over, forests, wildlife management areas, plenty of places to hike, picnic, or just sit and enjoy the outdoor environment. But before you head out to your park, make sure that it is open. It's always a good idea. And when you get there, if you see that it is full, please try and find a place with less people. We also ask you to wear a mask, especially if you cannot maintain social distance, but anytime you're out in the public, you should be wearing a mask. Okay, today we are doing one of my favorite animals, and this one is a very special one. I'll get to the clues in a second, but before we do that, I'm going to ask everyone to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. When I get 1,000 subscribers, I will begin doing YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live. So really excited about that. The other thing is, and I see people are already doing it, please continue when you make a comment or question, put up where you're from. And I see Cedar Island is watching, Fairfield is watching. Cedar Island is right over there. So I can't quite see it from here, but I know right where you are on Cedar Island. All right, so are we ready? I will give you some clues as to the favorite animal, and we'll see if you guys can figure it out. So if you have a guess at any time, you can put it up. Ooh, Lake Champlain, one of my favorite places. All right, here is the first clue, and it is the animal's track. This is approximately actual size. So if I put my hand here, that's approximately the size of the track. This is probably a little bit larger than the actual track, if anything. Okay? So take a close look. You can see little pads on the feet. You can see there's little claw marks there as well. We already have a guess of a raccoon, and not a raccoon. Ah, someone is visiting here. Next guess is an otter. You guys are on the right track. With the otter, it is in the same family as an otter, so there's another clue. All right, the next clue is the skull. Okay, skunk is a very good guess. Looking at this skull looks a lot like a skunk, doesn't it? Okay, so you can see it's not a large animal. Fisher cat is a good guess, but not. Mink, there we go. It is a mink. And here's the next thing that would give it away. The mink, this is its pelt, okay? If you look, you see that white chin? That is a dead giveaway of a mink. Weasels do not have a white chin. Weasels, they're all brown. Like this, sometimes they get a little bit of a stripe at the end of their tail. Weasels don't get as large as mink and are usually lighter in color. The mink, when it is wet, looks like it's black. This fur would appear much darker than this mink fur is. And mink are semi-aquatic, which means they do like to swim a lot. Now, to me, they can swim 20 feet down, so they can get it to a depth of 20 feet, and on a horizontal they could swim 115 feet underwater. To me, that is not semi-aquatic, that's aquatic. That is a really good animal in the water. But they are semi-aquatic because they do spend a lot of time out and foraging on the shoreline. So they do like to swim, they do eat fish. They may take a bird, small snakes, rodents, You know, the weasels, they're pretty aggressive hunters. They're going to go for pretty much anything that they can get. Okay? The last clue, which we don't need, which I will show you anyway, is the silhouette of the mink. You can see it. The silhouette looks very much like a ferret. Okay? And they're similar to ferrets. Mink do not domesticate very well, though. So there used to be 3 species of mink in the world. There was the sea mink, the European mink, and the American mink. The sea mink is extinct. No more of them around. The European mink is endangered. Very few of them around. The American mink is considered to be stable, has a stable population, and in most states where you can find them, they do have hunting seasons on them, so you can, well, trapping seasons, so you can still trap them. But most of the mink today, most of the pelts that people use, come from farm-raised mink or raised on a ranch. They call them mink ranches. So that's where most of the mink come from. But the mink, again, it is in the weasel family. I wanted to show you. So you can take a look at those aggressive canine feet or teeth. That's what tells you this is a predator. They're grabbing all of their food. People will sometimes have problems with these because they will start to attack livestock, small livestock like chickens and ducks and things like that. So they will go for trying to get into your chicken pens and things. Some people think that they're going to attack a cat. The chances of them going for a cat, because they're going to be usually a bit smaller than a cat. So a mink can only get about 2 feet long and weigh about 2 pounds. So substantially smaller than a cat, although they're more aggressive than cats. And because cats are domesticated, the mink are probably a bit better at fighting and hunting. But the mink is still, that's not going to be something that a mink tangles with. It's going to be a tough fight. And predators don't typically want to have a hard fight for their food. They want to hunt for things that are easy to hunt. So they don't usually go after other predators. Let's go back to the track. You can see those claws. They do not typically use their claws for hunting as like an aggressive weapon. The claws do help them though, because they do move around in the winter time. They don't hibernate, so they can be found out in the winter. And they will use those claws to help them, moving across ice and things like that. Okay. Now, typically a mink, they can live about 10 years. Okay. So this is a good size. This is a big one. So this would be an adult and probably closer to the 10-year-old range. You can see the actual size of the track versus the, okay. So you can see that this track is larger than the actual track. Okay. So again, they live 10 years. They can have about 8 offspring a year. And the offspring are called kits. So let's check and see if we have any questions. We had a guess of a weasel and a beaver. So weasel, again, same family. You're on the right track there. I don't see any questions. So we're going to go back and look at the skull. Now, this is a very typical weasel skull or weasel family skull. If you notice, the jaw is really out in front. The jaw, the eyes, the nose is well in front of the brain cavity. Now, I wish I brought another skull out to show you the difference, where a lot of times that skull, that jaw would be down underneath a little bit, and the eyes and the nose are a little bit closer with the head raised, the brain raised up a little bit more than the eyes. But this allows a much more streamlined shape. Weasels can get into very small gaps, and since their prey, which are small rodents and things, can go through small gaps, it helps, if you're a predator on those, to fit through those small gaps. The teeth are very large for the size of the skull. Very large. Look at how large those canines are compared to the overall size of the skull. The brain it's a very large brain cavity for the size of the skull, and which doesn't mean that they're smarter than other animals. Not necessarily. The size of it does give an indication of their mental capabilities, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're smarter. And you can see that the spinal opening where the spinal cord comes out is very, very large for the size. Okay. The eyes are a fairly good size. These are, they're not necessarily nocturnal or even crepuscular, which is active in the evening and the morning, or even diurnal. These guys are pretty opportunistic, and it's really going to depend on the time of the year and the type of food. So much more diurnal or crepuscular than nocturnal for their activity. Although people, you know, if you have a chicken coop and it's getting raided, a lot of times it's going to be in the dark after you've gone to bed, when you least expect it. That's when the mink or weasel are going to show up. Okay. Someone says they didn't realize they were quite so flat. This again is just a pelt. Let's see if I can get it to come up. So this is called, I think they call this tube skinning, where you skin the animal out instead of splitting down the belly. So they're not typically going to be this flat, and I can't get it to pop back out very much. This was skinned a very long time ago. This is a pretty old mount or old pelt. So you can see they can be a bit round, but they're very long and tubular shaped. Okay, let's go back to the silhouette. They are tube shaped. And these are one of the bounders. If you remember my tracking program, and you can see that on meigspointnaturecenter.org's virtual learning center, one of the movement types, the 4 main movement types of animals, this is a bounder. So that curved body shape creates that bounding motion as they move. All right, let's see. My mom had a mink stole. I'm having a hard time reading because of the reflection, so bear with me. A mink stole. They were very popular years ago, kind of gross with the feet and all. Yes, that is absolutely true. And I have had them donated to the Nature Center so we can use the pelts as an example with the feet still attached, and they actually put a clamp in where the mouth would be so they can wrap it around and clamp it. You know, so you're actually wearing an animal. It's not just a pelt anymore. You're wearing the whole animal. That does, it's, for most people today, that is pretty gross. So, yeah, these were, deer fly just got me. I should do a program on deer fly now that this one's found me. Wow. That is a very persistent deer fly. Okay, any other questions? If you have questions, comments, or anything else, you can put it up at any time. Now, I do a radio show on ICRV Radio. It's an internet radio station. You can find it at icrv.com. This week, we did a crossover program with Myths and Legends. I got tongue-tied on the Myths and Legends. Sometimes words are hard. Myths and Legends, and then we were trying to compare them to actual animals that they might be. And one of the animals we talked about was the whapperknocker. I just love the name whapperknocker. You really need to listen to the episode. We get into a lot of detail about the whapperknocker. But one of the things is, could it be a mink or some other animal similar to a mink? And I think we came up to the idea that it is probably a fisher, which is related to the mink. So fisher cats are not cats, they are weasels. I wish they were called fisher weasels. They don't necessarily fish either. They are more hunting for frogs than fish. But the fisher would be a larger version of the weasel. And then you've got, larger than that, you've got an otter, which is the same body shape. Fishers are a little bit more stout, more thicker. And then you've got weasels, which are smaller. We've got long-tail weasel, short-tail weasel in Connecticut. I think there's a third weasel too that we can get, but those are the two that I'm sure of. So there are, if you compared a weasel to a mink to an otter, obviously they're the same. Fish are similar, but that would look a little bit different in the silhouette. So I encourage everybody to go listen to that ICRV program. It was a lot of fun comparing myths and legends. So the professor brought in, Stephen Gencarelli, brought in or had an excerpt from a book that was written in like 1761. And he was comparing that to actual animals. So it was a lot of fun. The clamp is still on the stole. Yes. Oh, in Europe, mink are called stouts sometimes, or weasels are called stouts. And there are other names. Ermine are weasels. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions. Again, these programs are going to continue Tuesday through Friday at 11 o'clock. We may be adding a second program a day once schools begin. It's actually starting to sprinkle a little bit here, but it's still a beautiful day. And behind the camera, what you guys can't see, you know what I'm going to show you, is our butterfly garden. Let's see if I can switch the camera. Look at that. And there are monarch butterflies flying through our garden right now. So look for coming up, I will be doing a monarch butterfly program, which would be really fun. I can't wait to do that one. We're going to see if we can get some people from the Connecticut Butterfly Association to come down and tag some monarch butterflies for you so you can see how tagging goes. We'll do a virtual tagging program. Lots of fun. Okay, again, I hope that you, up there, did you see that monarch? Right through the picture. Awesome. I hope that you continue to follow us and like us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Meigs Point Nature Center YouTube channel. And visit our website, meigspointnaturecenter.org. Friday's program at 6:30 on amphibians of Connecticut will be broadcast live, simulcast on Facebook, YouTube, and on the website. You'll be able to comment from YouTube or Facebook. You can't comment from the website, but you can still watch it from the website. So let everyone that you know that if they're not on Facebook or YouTube, they can still watch these programs 6:30 on Friday. And then the following Friday, we have a possum program. We're going to have live possums on. Really excited about that. So, hope everyone's enjoying these programs, and I will see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Until then, this is Ranger Russ signing off from the Meigs Point Nature Center.